My name is Monica S. Cohen, and I was 32 years old when the man I planned to marry looked at the engagement ring I had sacrificed for and told me his ex-girlfriend would have bought him a better one. Until that moment, I did not understand that I had never truly been Adrian's partner. I had been his financial placeholder. I worked in logistics management. It was not glamorous. I did not close deals over champagne or drive a leased sports car. I drove a paid-off Toyota Tacoma, contributed to my retirement account, and repaired things before replacing them. I was practical, reliable, safe. Adrian was chaos wrapped in tailored fabric. He worked as an event coordinator, which meant he spent his days surrounded by luxury he could not afford. He helped organize weddings for wealthy families, attended tastings in private clubs, and stood inside ballrooms filled with flowers that cost more than my truck. He was handsome, charming, and fully aware of both. For 3 years, I believed we were building a life together. In reality, I was subsidizing his performance of wealth. We lived in a downtown high-rise that stretched my salary to its limit. I paid the rent, utilities, insurance, and groceries. Adrian's paycheck belonged entirely to him. Designer clothes, hair appointments, boutique fitness classes, expensive dinners with friends. Because I covered survival, he got to feel rich. And then, there was Juliana, his ex-girlfriend, a commercial real estate developer who was older, wealthier, and impossible to escape because Adrian brought her into nearly every conversation. Juliana used to fly me to Cabo for weekends, he would say, while I packed our truck for a lake trip. Juliana never made me pump gas, he muttered once when we stopped during a storm. Juliana knew the owner. He sighed whenever we waited for a restaurant table. I absorbed every comparison. I told myself he was only remembering an old lifestyle, not an old love. I believed he had chosen me because he valued loyalty over money. Then his BMW broke down. The repair bill was $2,400. Adrian had spent his savings on a trip with friends the previous week. "This is so unfair," he complained, staring at the estimate. "Why is everything so expensive?" I opened my checkbook. "I will cover it. Just try to control your spending next month." He took the check without thanking me. Then he looked directly at me. When my car broke down while I was with Juliana, she leased me a new one the next day. My pen stopped above the ledger. "Juliana is not here," I said quietly. "I am." "I know." He sighed. "I am just saying she never gave me a lecture about budgeting." The words should have ended us. Instead, I convinced myself he was stressed. I was already planning to propose, and I believed commitment would finally silence Juliana's ghost. So I worked more. I picked up extra shifts, stopped buying lunch, canceled my gym membership. For 6 months, I saved every spare dollar. I could not afford the enormous diamond Adrian admired online without taking on debt, and I refused to begin a marriage in financial panic. Instead, I chose quality. A flawless 1.2-carat diamond, VVS1 clarity, E-color, ideal cut. Set inside a custom platinum band. It caught sunlight like a spark trapped in glass. The ring cost $8,500, almost all my liquid savings. To me, it was not small. It represented every late shift, every skipped meal, and every future I believed we were preparing to share. I booked a table at Obsidian, the most expensive steakhouse in the city. Adrian spent the evening criticizing the table, the service, and the wine list. "Juliana loved a vintage they used to carry here," he said while swirling his glass. I tightened my grip around my fork. "One more night," I told myself. "After tonight, we move forward." When dessert arrived, I reached inside my jacket. My heart hammered as I placed the velvet box on the white tablecloth. Adrian finally put down his phone. His eyes widened. I opened the box. The diamond flashed beneath the low restaurant lights. He stared at it. 1 second, then 2, then 3. Finally, he tilted his head. "It is a little small, isn't it?" And in that silence, the future I had spent 6 months buying began to die. For a moment I thought Adrian might be joking. The diamond caught the candlelight between us, throwing clean white flashes across the table. I had imagined tears, laughter, maybe his hand covering his mouth. Instead, he looked disappointed. "It is a little small, isn't it?" he repeated. The restaurant seemed to fall silent around me, though I knew it had not. Silverware still touched plates. A piano played softly somewhere near the bar. A waiter poured wine at the next table. But all I could hear was Adrian's voice. "It is flawless," I said. "I saved for 6 months." He gave a nervous laugh. "I know, and that is sweet. It is just—" He lifted his hand and studied his fingers. "I have long hands. This is going to look tiny." I stared at him. He pushed the box slightly toward me. "Juliana's new boyfriend bought her a 3-carat emerald-cut diamond. She posted it yesterday. I thought you understood the standard." "The standard?" Adrian sighed as if I were making the conversation difficult. "My ex would have bought me the diamond one. Not whatever this is." Something inside me broke. Not dramatically. There was no explosion of anger or sudden desire to shout. It felt like a support beam collapsing in complete silence. Every overtime shift, every bill I covered, every comparison I swallowed, every time I told myself stability would eventually be appreciated. All of it disappeared. I looked at Adrian and saw him clearly for the first time, not as the man I loved, as someone who had measured my devotion and found it financially disappointing. "You are right," I said. His eyebrows lifted. "I am?" "Yes." Relief softened his face. "I knew you would understand. We can return this and finance something larger. I do not mind making payments if it means we get something that looks right." "There will not be payments." I reached across the table and took the box. The lid snapped shut. Adrian's smile disappeared. "What are you doing?" "Correcting a mistake." "Monica, stop being dramatic." I slipped the ring into my jacket. "Let me see it again," he said quickly. "Maybe it looked smaller because of the lighting. I could wear it until we upgrade." "I am not upgrading the ring." The waiter approached with concern in his eyes. I asked for the check. Adrian leaned closer. "You are embarrassing me." I almost laughed. For 3 years, I had been embarrassed quietly, compared quietly, used quietly. Now he was worried because strangers might see the consequences. "I am not upgrading us either," I said. His face went pale. "What does that mean?" "It means there is no engagement." "Because of one comment?" "No. Because of 3 years of them." The waiter handed me the bill. I paid, without looking away from Adrian. He grabbed my wrist when I stood. "You cannot leave me here. We came in your truck." I looked down at his hand until he released me. "Call Juliana." Then I walked out. My phone began vibrating before I reached the parking lot. I ignored every call. At the apartment, I packed with the same efficiency I used at work. 2 suitcases, clothes, documents, laptop, passport. Anything that was mine and impossible to replace. I left my key beside the stack of unopened utility bills Adrian had ignored. Then I checked into a cheap motel outside downtown. The room was plain, but it was quiet. I slept deeply. At 8:55 the next morning, I parked outside the jewelry store. The doors opened at 9. The saleswoman recognized me immediately. "Back already?" she asked. "Does it need resizing?" I placed the box on the counter. "I need to return it." Her expression changed. "I am sorry." "Did he say no?" "He said it was too small." She remained silent. "Then he said his ex would have bought him a better one." Understanding hardened her face. Because the band was custom, the store charged a 15% restocking fee, $1,275. A painful amount. "Process it," I said. "You could exchange it." "I do not want another ring." When the refund reached my account, I did not feel poorer. I felt like I had paid ransom for my future. Outside, I turned on my phone. 42 messages appeared. "You embarrassed me. I am sorry. I love the ring. Come home." I typed one response. I returned it. "I am removing myself from the lease. You have 30 days to find a roommate or another apartment. Do not contact me again." His reply came instantly. You threw away 3 years because you are insecure. Juliana would never run away like this. Even then, he used her name as a weapon. I sent one final message. Then called Juliana. I am sure she cannot wait to pay your rent. I blocked him everywhere. That afternoon, I began removing the rest of my life from his. The ring was gone. The promise was gone. And for the first time, so was the illusion. The next few weeks became an exercise in separating my life from Adrian's. I waited until I knew he was at work, rented a truck, and returned to the apartment with 2 movers. I took everything I had paid for: the couch, the television, the espresso machine, the vacuum, the king-sized mattress. Even the dining table Adrian had once complained was not elegant enough for the apartment. When he came home that evening, the place was nearly empty. All that remained were his clothes, cosmetics, decorative pillows, and a collection of expensive wine bottles he had never bothered to throw away. My phone stayed blocked, but mutual friends sent screenshots of his social media posts. A real partner handles emotions instead of punishing them. Trash always removes itself. Never settle for someone threatened by your standards. I did not respond. He could write whatever version made him feel better. Reality would answer for me. Adrian earned $45,000 a year and lived as though he earned 3 times that amount. The downtown apartment cost $2,800 a month. Without my income, the image he had built could not survive. So he contacted Juliana. According to mutual friends, he told her I had been controlling, jealous, and emotionally threatened by their history. Juliana invited him to her penthouse late one Tuesday night. Adrian posted a photograph from her balcony with the caption, "Back where I belong." He believed he had finally traded up. But Juliana did not invite him to move in. She did not buy him a new car. She did not cover his rent. She called when she was lonely, ordered food, and sent him home before morning because she had meetings. Adrian was no longer the glamorous boyfriend he remembered being. He was a convenient late-night option. Meanwhile, my life changed quietly. At the end of the first month, I checked my bank account and stared at the balance. For 3 years, money had disappeared into Adrian's clothes, appointments, restaurant bills, and emergencies. Now, the number had increased by nearly $3,000. I started going to the gym again. I reconnected with friends Adrian had called unsophisticated. I bought new all-terrain tires for my truck and did not need to explain the expense to anyone. My new apartment was smaller, cheaper, and peaceful. Adrian was drowning. 3 months after the breakup, I ran into an old mutual friend named Michael at a hardware store. "Have you heard about Adrian?" he asked. "No." I placed a gallon of slate gray paint into my cart. "He got evicted last week. The sheriff came and everything." I paused. Juliana would not let him move in. She has a new boyfriend now. Some 23-year-old model. A brief ache moved through me. Not love, just memory. "That is difficult," I said. "He is staying with his mother. He keeps saying he made a huge mistake." "He did not make a mistake." Michael looked at me. "He made a trade. It just did not pay off." I walked toward the register. I thought that would be the end. It was not. 4 months after the proposal, Adrian discovered the one address I had forgotten to block: my work email. The first message arrived on a Tuesday morning. "I have been thinking about you. Living with my mother has been humbling. Juliana was not who I thought she was. I miss my best friend. Can we have coffee?" I deleted it. 2 days later, another appeared. "My BMW broke down again. The mechanic wants $1,800. You always knew how to deal with these people." "I am scared, Monica. Everything is falling apart." That message revealed the truth. He did not miss me. He missed competence. He missed the woman who checked the insurance, handled repairs, filed taxes, and stood between him and the consequences of his choices. I deleted that email too. Then he started appearing at places I frequented. I saw him in a grocery store wearing sweatpants, his hair unstyled and his face exhausted. I left before he noticed me. A week later, His BMW was parked outside my gym. I drove somewhere else. Not because I feared him, because I refused to let his desperation become my responsibility. Around that time, I started dating Daniel, a nurse I met through friends. He drove a Honda Civic, paid his own bills, and when I bought dinner, he looked me in the eye and said thank you. The simplicity of it felt extraordinary. Then, one Friday evening, Daniel and I attended a rooftop event downtown. I was laughing beside him when a hand closed around my arm. I turned. Adrian stood behind me. His face was pale. His eyes were desperate. "We need to talk," he said. Daniel looked between us, understood immediately, and quietly stepped away. Adrian tightened his grip. "I have nowhere else to go." I removed his hand from my arm. "You should not be here." His eyes filled with tears. "Juliana used me. I lost everything." I looked at the man I had once planned to marry. He had finally returned, not because he loved me, because every other door had closed. Adrian's eyes were wet, but I felt no urge to comfort him. "Juliana used me," he repeated. "She treated me like I was disposable." The irony was almost too precise. For 3 years, he had compared me to her. Her money, her penthouse, her connections, her effortless ability to make him feel important. Now he stood in front of me, devastated because the fantasy had treated him exactly the way he once treated me. "That sounds painful," I said. He stared at me as if he had expected more. "Painful? Monica, I am drowning." People nearby had started glancing toward us. The rooftop lights reflected off the glass railing, and music drifted from the other side of the terrace. Below us, the restaurant where I had proposed glowed against the city streets. Adrian followed my gaze. "We were going to get married," he whispered. "No, I was going to marry you." He flinched. "I know I ruined it." "You measured the ring before you measured the love behind it." I was confused. "No, you were honest." His face twisted. "I did not care about the diamond. You cared enough to compare it to Juliana's." I was under pressure. "From whom?" He had no answer. Adrian stepped closer and reached for my hand. I moved away. "I miss you," he said. "I miss our apartment. I miss waking up next to you. I miss knowing everything was going to be okay." There it was. Not love. Security. "I do not think you miss me," I said. His eyes widened. "You miss the bills being paid. You miss someone fixing the car, handling the insurance, and making sure your life did not collapse. That is not fair." "It is completely fair. I loved you. You loved what I provided." He shook his head violently. "No, I want you back." "You want your sponsor back." The word struck him like an open hand. "I was never using you. You took the repair check without thanking me and complained that Juliana would have bought you another car." I said I was sorry. "You said you were sorry after she rejected you." His tears finally spilled. "She has someone else now." "I know. She would not even let me pass the lobby." I felt a faint trace of pity. Then I remembered the engagement ring sitting beneath the restaurant lights, while Adrian studied it like defective merchandise. Pity did not change the facts. "I made a mistake," he said. "No." I kept my voice low. "You made a trade." He stared at me. "You believed Juliana's lifestyle was worth more than the life we built, so you tried to trade me for her." "That is not what happened." "It is exactly what happened." I leaned slightly closer. "The market collapsed, Adrian. And now you are trying to sell the damaged investment back to me." His mouth fell open. "I am not buying." Daniel stood several yards away near the railing, giving us space without abandoning me. Adrian noticed him. "Is that your boyfriend?" "Yes." "You replaced me already?" I moved forward. His expression hardened. "So, that is why you are being cold." "No, I am calm, because I finally understand you. I could change. Then change." Hope flickered across his face. "But do it without me." The hope disappeared. "Please, Monica. I have debt. My mother wants me out. The BMW barely runs. I do not know what to do. Figure it out. He recoiled. You would really leave me like this? You left yourself like this. He began sobbing openly. A few months earlier, that sight would have broken me. Now it only confirmed that he still expected his pain to become my emergency. Go home, Adrian. I do not have a home. You have your mother's house. That is not a life. It is the life you have until you build another one. I stepped around him. He called my name. I stopped, but I did not turn. I spent $8,500 on a promise, I said. Returning it cost me $1,275. He stayed silent. That was the best money I ever lost. Then I walked back to Daniel. He placed one hand gently against my back. Everything okay? I looked across the city lights. Yes. For the first time, the answer was completely true. The ring was gone. The illusion was gone. The man who had treated my love like a financial product was finally gone too. I had paid the restocking fee and bought back my life. 6 months after the rooftop confrontation, my life no longer felt like something I was rebuilding. It felt built. Not perfect. Not finished. But mine. Daniel and I moved slowly. That was something Adrian would have mocked. There were no extravagant weekends, no expensive photographs designed to impress strangers, and no constant need to prove that our relationship was exciting. There were ordinary dinners after long shifts, coffee on Sunday mornings, quiet drives where neither of us needed to fill every silence. The first time Daniel's car needed repairs, he scheduled the appointment himself, paid the bill, and thanked me for offering to drive him home. That simple moment nearly broke my heart. Not because it was romantic, because it was normal. I had spent 3 years believing love meant rescuing someone before they faced consequences. Daniel showed me that partnership meant standing beside someone who could also stand on his own. My savings continued growing. I rebuilt the emergency fund I had drained for Adrian's ring. Then I surpassed it. The money no longer represented canceled gym memberships, skipped lunches, or overtime worked to impress someone impossible to satisfy. It represented choice. I traveled with friends. I replaced furniture without wondering whether it looked expensive enough. I even returned to Obsidian one evening for a company dinner. For a brief second, standing near the entrance, I remembered Adrian sitting beneath the low lights and examining my ring with disappointment. The memory no longer hurt. It felt like watching a scene from someone else's life. Adrian tried contacting me twice more. The first time, he sent a message through a mutual friend claiming he had changed. I asked the friend not to carry messages between us again. The second time, a small package arrived at my office. Inside was the yellow receipt from the restaurant where I had proposed. Adrian had written across the back, "I finally understand what you were offering." There was no apology for the comparisons, no acknowledgement of the money, insults, or manipulation. Only another attempt to turn regret into access. I shredded it. A few weeks later, Michael mentioned that Adrian had started working full-time at a hotel. He had sold the BMW and bought a used sedan. Apparently, his mother had finally given him a deadline to move out. I expected to feel vindicated. Instead, I felt relieved. Not because his life was difficult, because for the first time, he was being forced to build one. Whether he succeeded was no longer my responsibility. That was the final lesson. Closure was not hearing Adrian confess that I had been enough. It was understanding that I had always been enough, even when he was too blinded by comparison to see it. One evening, Daniel and I sat on the floor of my apartment assembling a bookshelf. He held up 2 nearly identical screws. "Which one goes here?" I checked the instructions. "The shorter one." He smiled. "Good thing I have a logistics expert." There was no sarcasm, no insult disguised as humor, just warmth. We finished the shelf slightly crooked. Daniel stepped back and studied it. "It is not perfect." "No." "Should we redo it?" I looked at the books waiting in boxes. "It will hold." He nodded. "Then it is good." That sentence stayed with me. Adrian had taught me that everything had to look impressive. The ring, the apartment, the car, The relationship. Daniel reminded me that things did not need to be impressive to be valuable. They needed to be honest, strong, able to hold weight. The ring I returned had been flawless. The relationship it represented was not. Losing $1,275 once felt painful. Now it felt almost cheap. That money purchased the moment I stopped confusing sacrifice with love. It bought the quiet apartment, the growing savings account, the ordinary dinners, the man beside me who never asked me to compete with a ghost. Most importantly, it bought back the woman I had slowly abandoned while trying to prove she was worthy of being chosen. Adrian once told me Juliana would have bought him the diamond ring. Perhaps she would have. But I had offered him something far more valuable: a stable life, a loyal partner, a future built without debt or deception. He rejected it because it did not sparkle loudly enough. That was his choice. Walking away was mine, and I would make it again without hesitation.